Hey, welcome to the Daily Dose. My name is JD, and I'm the campus pastor here at North Coast Vista. We're going to be taking you to the next chapter of James. This morning, we kick off James chapter 5. I came across some news just last week. It was from Ohio, and it was about a fast food chain that was closed because every single employee in that fast food chain quit. And they quit because the owners of the store decided to drop them below minimum wage and treat them unfairly. And if I could have read for you the note that was posted on the door, you don't read this note at church. They were ticked. They were treated unfairly and they bailed. Today's message in James is a harsh message. And it's a harsh message because it's written to people who are wealthy and who have employees that were treating them wrong. It's a message that I, and maybe you, might be even tempted to skip over because I read for the wealthy, I'm like, I don't have great wealth. And yet if you do just a little bit of Googling, you can see that 1 billion people out of our world live with less than $1 a day. That's crazy. 3.8 billion people on this planet live with less than $10 a day. That's half of the world's population. The top 10% of the population's wealthiest would have a net worth, like you put everything they own together, and they're worth $70,000. That puts you in the top 10% of the world's wealthiest. And I look through that lens and say, I'm guessing anyone who's listening to the Daily Dose is making more than $10 a day, and that puts you in the top half of the world's wealthiest. So perhaps this message is for us. Here's what James has to say. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that's coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, moths have eaten your clothes, your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will testify against you. It'll eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded your wealth in the last days. Look, James writes, the wages you failed to pay to the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of the slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. That's some harsh words, James. Where did that come from? Well, he's writing to the wealthy, and I guess I'm wealthy by world standards, and my hunch is you are too. And it would be right for you to ask, is it wrong to have wealth? And the scriptures would be, of course not. There's so many places you can look and see wealth as a blessing, as a gift. You can see follower of Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea, Barnabas himself, Matthew, who was formerly Levi. These would all be examples of followers of Jesus, fans of Jesus that had a lot of wealth by that day's standard. Not wrong to have wealth. But how do we avoid the condemnation that James is throwing out here in James chapter 5? It has to do with how we use that wealth and how generous we are with what the Lord has given us. So here's where I would point you to one more scripture, the words of Jesus, and he writes this: everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be expected. So when you're given a lot is expected. And from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. If you've been blessed with abundance, whether that is financially, whether that's with your gifts, your talents, your abilities, I'd simply ask you this today: how are you using them? Are you using them only to make your life more comfortable? Or are you simply or are you able to look at the needs around you and say, God, you've given me a lot. Make me the kind of person that does something about those needs around me. Another author writes this: we've been given much, and God desires to use what he has given to further his kingdom and proclaim his glory. Church, it's what we were created to do. Let's be a family that's known by our generosity and our love to others.